coming down to our last two divisional predictions now. This week, the NFC East. So we're going to give you the predicted standings, the predicted records of what we think they'll finish at, roundabout, and then some superlatives. MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Breakout Player, Coach of the Division. We're going to get to it all. Let's go.
We always start in fourth place and work our way up. Let's go and start with the Giants. To me, this is a bottom 5 roster in football. I don't trust the offensive line outside of left tackle. I don't trust the quarterback play. I think the coach is competent, but not a lot to work with. There are limitations on what a good coach can do, and I do fear, unfortunately, he's going to kind of be caught in the crossfire here. This very well could be his last season in New York. I think he'll get another opportunity, Brian Dable will, but I just don't foresee a lot going well for the Giants. Now, there is one caveat to this where I get a little bit of hesitation, and it is the classic, if you win in the trenches, you can win any football game. And while their offensive line is bad, their defensive line very well could be the best in football. With Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau, it very well could be the best defensive line in football. So I think they're going to be in close games. But what wins in the fourth quarter? Who wins in the fourth quarter would be what I would ask.
Great quarterbacks and great coaches.
Precisely, and I think they have a good coach and a bad quarterback, so I don't think they're going to win a lot of those.
Yeah, I have the same concerns. Obviously, the defensive line is a bright spot, but also you have to look at it. How much value does the defensive line actually hold when it comes to winning football games? Okay, TJ Watt aside. TJ Watt on his own has won a couple of football games.
They're like 1-11 without him. They're like 39-18 with him.
Yeah, so I mean, it makes a difference. But when you have somebody as incompetent as Daniel Jones throwing the football, there's problems. There's big problems.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Washington, for me, would be in third place. This team, I should have prefaced this, it's less about the records, more about the actual positioning. These are just estimations, guesses, if you will, educated guesses on record. I would go 6-11. I wouldn't be surprised if they found their way to closer to 500, like an 8-9. It really all hinges upon is Jaden Daniels any good. My concern is the offensive line is really not good, and for a rookie quarterback, that's a problem. I know he's mobile. I know he's elusive. How much can you overcome as a rookie? We think he's pretty good, but I don't know if we necessarily view him as a generational player that is going to overcome a bad O-line, lacking good weapons but not great. Good running backs, not great. Defense, that's okay, right? New head coach, new ownership, like a lot of moving parts. Can he overcome that? I wouldn't be floored if he does, but my prediction is he's kind of middle of the road, and it's a 6 to 7 win team.
Right, and we've always said it matters where you land, and it really does, especially at the quarterback position. Obviously, other positions here and there can, there's
sure
anomalies more so than at quarterback. You need to be inserted into a position where, one, you can thrive and you kind of have the system built around you. Now, there's obviously the generational talents, like you said, that come in and just completely blow up the entire landscape. Hey, we're doing this now. Put the entire team on their back and walk them into a playoff game. This is not one of those situations. He doesn't have the framework around him, and I don't see him being and holding that generational talent that's needed to put a team on his back. 6-11 feels right. It wouldn't shock me if they won 7, 8, 9 games. Maybe, if they catch a hot streak.
I just don't think they're like a real contender.
No, but they're going to be third in this division.
Yeah, I think they're a scrappy third. Yeah, but I am also on record saying I think Drake May is going to be better than Jaden Daniels, so I think I have him at best as the third best quarterback in the draft. That doesn't mean he's not going to be good, but day one really good? I don't know. I have my doubts.
Yeah.
Dallas at 9-8. I don't want to say infamously, but I am on the record saying I think they are a about 500 team. I actually personally have them at 8-9. We compromised on 9-8 because we did give them an extra win. We're like, it's on the fence. You would like the win. It's a coin flip game. I just think the schedule early in the season is brutal. It's brutal, right? So they have the Browns. Saints should be a win. But then it's Ravens, Giants, Steelers, Lions, Niners, Falcons, Eagles, Texans. I have them losing that Giants game because it's at New York at night off a short week for the Cowboys. So I have them losing that game in an upset because I don't think they're going to win every game they're favored, just like I don't think they're going to lose every game they're not favored. So I think Ravens, Giants, Steelers, Lions, Niners, Falcons, Eagles, Texans. I have them losing 8 straight. Right, so that I have them losing week 1 against the Browns. They beat the Saints, and then they lose 8 straight.
So you have them at 8-9. We have them at 9-8 collectively.
Right, so I have them at 1-9 through the first 10 weeks.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening.
Right, I know it's a hot take, but I actually don't see this team being very good.
Now, I know they have a lack of talent, but at the end of the day, it's Dallas. Like, they're going to win football games.
Maybe.
They're going to win some close games and
Maybe.
games that they shouldn't win.
Maybe.
I just think Dak's talented enough to do so.
You're right. No, you'll probably end up being right. They're not going to go 1-9, but if they're close to it, I'm going to take a victory lap. I'm throwing it out there.
That's fair.
Philly at the top of the division. I think 12-5 may be a little bit rich, but it's really actually hard to find losses on this schedule. My biggest concern is the secondary any good, right? That was the problem last year, and that's why I came out and I said, I think it was last week, yes, I like the Saquon Barkley edition. I think he's going to be very good, but I'm not sure that getting a running back solves the problem of your defense was atrocious last year, right? So that's the main concern.
Yeah.
Can it get better with Vic Fangio? My guess is yes. That's why we have them at 12-5. 11-6 is also definitely in play. I don't think they go above 12 wins. It's a good team. It's probably close to a number 1 seed, number 1/2 seed. Very good. I have concerns if the defense can actually win in big games against high-end quarterbacks. I mean, they're going to beat up against bad quarterbacks. I worry when they play, not that I think Purdy's that good, but that team is, and in that system he's very good. But your Purdy's, your Goffs, your Allens, your Lamars, right? I know they don't play the Bills, but you get my point. Like, that would be where my concern lies. Can they beat the marquee quarterbacks?
And it's hard to find the losses on the schedule. It is. It's hard to go through and pick out losses for Philly because you know they're a really good team. You know they have a buzzsaw offense. They have a really good quarterback. They have a really good offensive line, and obviously they've added the pieces with Saquon. So you have that on offense. Now, the thing that I'm going to be weary of and tell you that you should proceed with caution when looking at this team is they lost both their coordinators. Sure. So now they have a brand new offensive coordinator, a brand new defensive coordinator. How does that work?
But my argument would be they did upgrade at those positions. I think Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio are a lot better than what they had.
Now Nick Sirianni needs to get the hell out of the way.
That's an issue.
He needs to get the hell out of the way of play calling.
Correct, which I think Kellen Moore will call the plays. So I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem.
It's going to run through him eventually, though.
Well, I mean, obviously the head coach has final say on game plans and philosophy and all that stuff. But I think what I would want him to be is almost like a John Harbaugh for the Ravens, where he has an OC that calls plays, he has a DC that completely controls the defense. He's a walk-around motivator, leader type coach. I think Nick Sirianni has decent leadership qualities. I think he can get people motivated. I don't know if he should be on the whiteboard 24/7 would be my concern.
Everybody has said their concerns with Nick Sirianni lie in the X's and O's and the scheming part.
Absolutely.
Anyway, to run back through, we have the Eagles in first, solidly at 12-5. The Cowboys following in second at 9-8. The Commanders at 6-11, sitting at third, and in the basement of the division, the New York Giants. Now, finally, if this wasn't in hits and misses, so I guess we could take an extra hit here. This is what happens when you overpay for an average quarterback like Daniel Jones. You end up losing pieces, and you lose your star running back to a division rival. So that's always awesome to see. That's the NFC East there. Go check it out. Now it's time to move into the superlatives. So we have MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Breakout Player, and Coach of the Division. Let's start with MVP.
I don't really think it's a question that it's CeeDee Lamb. We're like normally quarterbacks or MVPs. If CeeDee Lamb's not on the field, who are they throwing the ball to? I don't know their number two name. I don't know the name of their number two, or their 3 or 4, etc. I actually don't know a rostered receiver right now except for CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
I mean, I could Google it, but off the top of my head, I don't know another receiver on the roster.
It's bad. And we were deciding between CD and Jalen.
Right.
But then it occurred to me, too, we've seen the Eagles without Jalen when they had Gardner, and they were fine. They won games.
They were fine. Yeah, they were fine. And he's not the most valuable player on his own offense, right? Like, I think you would argue A.J. Brown or Lane Johnson, the tackle, right? Like, yeah, so CeeDee Lamb easily.
Yeah.
Offensive Player of the Year, I would go Jalen Hurts. I know I just said that he's not even the most valuable player on his own offense, but I do think statistically he's going to have a really good year. I think Kellen Moore is going to kind of get that offense right. And I think they're going to kind of say, look, I know we don't want to, we don't want you to get banged up, right? We did just pay you, but at the same time, we do need a return on investment. I think they're going to kind of cut him loose with his legs a little bit. I think he's going to finally be healthy. He was a little banged up going into last year.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be healthy. You're going to see the production, I think, take a tick up. For that reason, he's going to be Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, that's the thing. I love him. I think he's extremely valuable to the offense, even though, they can, and they've shown to get it done without him. But you have a quarterback that squats 500 pounds. He's going to get you the 2-3 yards that you need on the tush push. That's not going away.
I do worry about no Kelsey, though, with that.
Yeah, but I mean, he's strong. He'll find a way. He'll find a way to pick up 2 yards. Him an offensive player, Jalen, Offensive Player of the Year feels good. Defensive Player of the Year.
Micah Parsons. I think he's overrated as a player in the macro, but I do think he's quite easily the best defensive player in this division.
Yeah. I mean, do you see him on par with TJ and
I think he's
and Myles Garrett?
I think he's a tick below. I would put TJ Garrett and probably Nick Bosa at the top, and then I would say to be Micah, Max Crosby, maybe a Khalil Mack
somewhere
in there.
that tier 2.
Yeah, in that second tier. I think he's probably the top of tier 2, but I don't view him on the same level as a Garrett, TJ, and probably Nick Bosa.
That's fair. All right, breakout player.
This is gonna sound crazy because he's already a star, but Saquon Barkley.
I love this one.
Yeah, and you actually had this idea, and I'm it makes total sense. A light bulb went off. I think he's gonna break out and be even better because if you actually think about it, people are oh, he could have a Christian McCaffrey impact. He's not even close to the player Christian McCaffrey was before he went to the Niners. No. Outside of his rookie year, he's been pretty middle tier to slightly above average. So I think you're going to finally see him in an offense with other weapons, with good infrastructure, a good quarterback, a good offensive line. I think you're going to see his production skyrocket. Now, do I think he's going to be Christian McCaffrey? No. But I think he's going to be significantly better. His production's going to go up. He's going to kind of break out of being a New York Giant, to be honest with you. He's just not a
Which
Giant
is good.
anymore.
That's a good move.
Sure, that's a great breakout. Yeah. I think he's going to it's almost more of a comeback breakout type where he's going to return to stardom.
Yeah, for sure. All right, coach of the division.
This is going to sound crazy because we've been winning 6 games, but Dan Quinn. And I think it's going to feel a little bit now again, Flores got fired, but you could see when he got hired, they were bad to start that year. Remember, they got boat raced by Baltimore 50-5 or something.
Bad.
And then by the end of the year, they went into Foxborough and beat Brady, and you're are they they're competitive? They're kind of figuring it out, right? I think you're going to see they're sketchy, and then they're going to be oh, we figure it out. I think you're going to see Dan Quinn put a system in place and begin to execute on it and improve upon it as the year goes on.
100% agree. Run back through.
CeeDee Lamb at MVP, Jalen Hurts at Offensive Player of the Year, DPOY Micah Parsons, breakout in his return to stardom, Saquon Barkley, and Coach of the Year, Dan Quinn of the Commanders. Despite only winning 6 games, I think he'll show flashes.